The perception that everything is utterly safe and transparent is naive. I do not believe we fully understand the depth of the events coming toward us. This quote by Professor Philip James of the Rousset Research Institute in the United Kingdom is not talking about the media, politics, or even war. He's talking about food. Now, what I'm about to say may seem surprising or even fictional, but according to leading research by doctors, nutritionists, and environmental agencies from all over the world, it's very much the truth. Today, I'll be discussing genetically modified foods, and in particular, what they are, what risks they pose to ourselves and the environment, how they are regulated, and what we as Pepperdine students can protect ourselves from them, and change federal legislature to require the FDA to label them. Now, first things first, what are genetically modified foods? Well, according to the World Health Organization, genetically modified foods are foods derived from organisms whose genetic nature or DNA has been altered in unnatural ways, or ways that do not occur in nature. And this is basically the concept of taking a crop into a laboratory and splicing its DNA with another crop and seeing what happens. Now, this in itself is a little unsettling to me, but let's get more specific. Who here would like to guess when genetically modified crops were first invented? After World War II, the 1950s, even in the 70s, they wanted to get their food to boogie too. I apologize, that was a bad one. 1992, less than 30 years ago, and the last 22 years, genetically modified foods have gone from a laboratory experiment to being in 80% of our food, processed food, in North America, according to gmeducation.org. Now, also according to the Huffington Post, soy, corn, canola, and cotton are the leading crops that are vastly genetically modified in today's age. The problem is that these genetically modified foods are, in addition to these other ones, are in almost all processed foods. That's going to be 8%. Soy and corn, especially according to the Huffington Post, are in almost all processed foods. Now, what is processed food? I'm sure you know cereals, cakes, cookies, anything that really comes in a box and you can't grow naturally, which honestly in today's world is almost everything we consume. So, for example, did you eat a carrot for breakfast? No, I had a bowl of cereal or I had a muffin. According to research, there's an 8% chance that there's a genetically modified ingredient in it. Now, what dangers these possess to American citizens and the environment, or do they? Well, unfortunately, according to the Institute for Responsible Technology, they conducted a study on rats to test their effects on human beings. They had two sets of rats. One they fed an all-natural diet, and one they fed completely genetically modified foods. And what they found was after 4 months, the rats fed genetically modified foods exhibited cancer cells in the digestive tract, and their brains, livers, and reproductive organs developed considerably slower than those of rats fed organic foods. Their brains developed slower because they're eating genetically modified foods. If that's not concerning, I don't know what is. And unfortunately, the dangers don't just stop with human beings. They extend to our environment. Now, according to the International Business Times, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine has warned that, quote, serious health risks to local environments of plant and animal life in areas where genetically modified crops are grown. Now, also according to the New York Times and The Guardian, studies have been conducted showing that in regions where genetically modified crops are grown, small birds and insects, including butterflies and bees that are crucial for pollinating reproducing crops, have been shown to plummet dramatically in areas where GM crops are being produced, as opposed to organic farms. Something is killing these animals and insects, and it's probably genetically modified crops when you think about it. In addition to this, new things such as superweeds are being spotted around the United States. Now, superweeds, that's like a big deal, right? It's a weed, like, yeah, you just pull it, right? However, these weeds are pretty serious in the agricultural business because as genetically modified crops are being produced faster, bigger, sexier, more resistant to bugs and other weeds. They're being designed to become better and better crops. However, the problem is that thanks to Darwinism, weeds are also evolving to compete with these new genetically modified crops. And as a result of excessive use of pesticides and genetically modified crops, these weeds are now resistant to Roundup and other leading weed treatments that we use to kill these weeds, and they can also compete with genetically modified crops. So at this point, we don't have a way to stop them. And the problem is, what makes them super weeds is that they grow much more fast and spread much more aggressively than that of natural weeds. So a seed from superweed lands in an organic farm, it would decimate the entire crop because it's evolved to a much more aggressive state in order to compete with genetically modified foods. So we've heard all these risks, right? And all these different things are like, oh, that's kind of scary, and it's dangerous to our environments. So clearly the FDA is on top of this, right? The Food and Drug Administration, the government agency in charge of protecting us as American citizens, is on top of it. Well, that's a scary thing. According to the FDA.org, their own website, they don't regulate genetically modified foods. According to their own website, the process they use to make sure foods are safe are allowing the developers themselves to review the foods, make sure it's safe. Then they publish a report, and that report is given to the FDA, and they review it to make sure it's safe. Now this is a huge conflict of interest, because it's basically asking a criminal to prosecute himself. Because why would they look for problems in their own food if they're trying to sell it to the American people? So we have this food that is in 80% of our food supply now. That is at the very least not reviewed in an objective way. And at the very worst, not reviewed in an honest and truthful way. So what can we as Pepperdine students possibly do? Well, that's the best part. There's plenty we can do. At an individual level, to keep ourselves safe, we can eat local organic foods, thus eliminating the threats and potential risks of genetically modified crops or ingredients. Also, we can check for food labels for anything that we don't recognize or can't pronounce. If it's 16 syllables and you can't say it, it's probably not natural, and so it's probably genetically modified. In addition to this, we can also get involved at a national level. We can go to justlabeled.org. This website is a great link to get involved nationally because if you look at the top right of the screen right here, this button says Take Action. You follow this link, there's an online petition you can sign to petition the FDA to require the labeling at a federal level of all genetically modified foods or foods with genetically modified ingredients in them. All you need is your zip code and you can automatically sign the petition. Also, you can click the link below it and contact your local congressman. It's just about email link through the website. Then you can contact your congressman, let them know, have your voice be heard, that you want these foods to be labeled to protect yourselves and your loved ones, so you know what you as an American are consuming. So, what have we learned today? We've learned what genetically modified foods are, where are they in our society, what dangers they possess to ourselves and our environment, how they are regulated in a honestly unsafe way, and how we can get involved in ensuring the labeling. So I urge you, please just take 5 minutes, go on the website, sign a petition. I've already done it. It's great. It's a really fun experience. Benefit this cause, because your voice is important and your voice matters. As Steve Jobs famously said, don't be caught in dogma, which is letting others decide your own circumstances. Have your own voice be heard. Thank you.